what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Also, I will say this. I was very impressed with Nicholls' offense. A creative attack, working in a lot of that wildcat, very multiple.
I love what they did. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
It wasn't even necessarily a wildcat because they would take the quarterback off the field and they would just bring in an extra blocker, and Guggenheim just turned into the quarterback.
To technically be a wildcat, does the quarterback still have to be on the field?
I mean, the way that I've always seen it growing up is like, you get the quarterback out there at receiver. Like, I loved how they took him off the field and brought in another blocker. And like Guggenheim, because he played high school quarterback, he could throw it. There's the threat of that.
Yeah.
And why not do it that way? Like, if you have the ability to do it, I like that part of it.
Taysom Hill-esque.
It was.
How they use Googs.
Man, I liked what they did offensively a ton.
Also, the double pass, dude. That was a dime on the run by the receiver.
Yeah.
Left-handed.
It wasn't
pressure in his face.
It's kind of a floater by Guggenheim too. He had to catch it.
It was very obvious.
Get rid of it.
But yeah. So shout out Nicholls, man. If you're a Nicholls fan, you should be really happy about your offense and your offensive scheme.
Coach Rebo, yeah, he's one of my favorites already, but I got even more respect for him now.
Now, as far as the LSU defense goes, this is a group that personnel-wise, guys, is very limited. And then your most talented players just feel a bit out of position and are not playing well. And obviously, I'm mainly talking about Harold Perkins with that latter kind of point. On the inside, look, I think this interior D-line is working their ass off. I think they are trying. I don't think it's lazy. It's not like last year where I'd become frustrated because I'd watch Mason Smith hand fight with somebody instead of trying to make a play because it looked like he was trying to prove some sort of point of personal pride. I think these guys are really trying. I think they're playing within the scheme. I think they're playing very hard. I just think they're a bit limited. And I think you could kind of say the same thing about corner. You really struggled in man just to stop slants. Just which I mean, I guess is always going to be tough, but it just there were flashes, certainly. PJ Woodland's forced fumble was nice. You give up the catch, but the tackle was aggressive, violent, good hand punch to force the fumble. I still like what I saw to Stamps in week one somewhat. Zy Alexander definitely flashed at times. Expect him to take on a larger and larger role. But I still got questions about the safety play, the safety fits. And for the second week in a row, there's just a marked difference between how Whit Weeks plays linebacker and Harold Perkins plays linebacker. There's just way too much catching from Perkins. There's a complete lack of aggression. There was one good TFL where he came downhill, got underneath the blocker, got around, but the too many times it was catching, trying to scrape over the top, and it just the same way that you talk about Aaron Anderson last year offensively is how it kind of feels watching Perk on the inside right now defensively.
It is something that they have got to figure out, and we talked about it in length yesterday, and here's the main reason why for me, and I think you agree, T-Bob, you're going to have linemen in your lap. You don't right now have the protection of a badass defensive lineman that's going to take multiple bodies to move and get out of their gap. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly. I meant to actually preface my linebackers critique with that is they're starting behind the eight ball a little bit. They're starting having it's like being a running back trying to run behind an offensive line that is not great. Like,
yes,
the best running backs can find, you can do better. You can find success there, but it's just much, much tougher. So what happens if you're new to the position and you're already kind of being put behind the eight ball like that? Well, that's what you see.
So kind of what we're talking about, like think about some of your, just badass defensive tackles. Like Glenn Dorsey was going to have at minimum two bodies on him, and he was going to take both of those bodies.
Yeah.
Right? Ricky Jean Francois, same situation. Claude Roten, Kyle Williams, all those guys, right, when I was a player, they were going to take multiple bodies. And so for the linebacker, you're either going to get somebody late when you've already had, a chance to read the play, diagnose the play, and react to the play, or they're going to be like so late getting to you that they're going to kind of be on their heels where you're already going forward, and you're going to have that opportunity too. So like even if you haven't read it yet, you're still going to be the aggressor. And when you don't have that, when you don't have defensive linemen that are going to take up multiple guys, you're going to have a guard, even a tackle sometimes on different plays, like in your lap. And when we say in your lap, the ball's going to be snapped and he's going right for you. He's not worried about chipping or helping out on the 3 technique or the 1 shade. He is getting to you right now because they feel like their individual matchup one-on-one with your D tackle is going to favor them. And so now you hadn't even had a chance to take a step, and you've got a guard right now. And so if you don't play that super aggressive, you're going to be 5 yards behind the ball in a passive position and not have a chance to really get off that block.
Yeah. So, somebody asked me to explain what I mean by catching. It's exactly what Jake just described, where, like, as an O-lineman, you have such a – and even in Nicholls, O-linemen, which are smaller.
Number 61, I don't remember his name.
A little sloppier.
He was playing, though.
Even they put their hands on you when you're a linebacker. Like, the best thing as an O-lineman is you giving me your chest. As soon as I get my hands on you, your size is such that I can just hold you.
Yeah.
I can just hold you. Now, there would be guys, and it's probably unfair to compare him to someone like this because this guy played in the league forever, but like Kevin Minner was the best that I ever played against, where he would headbutt and punch at the same time so that when you went to hit him, you bounced off. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what the best linebackers do. So we talked about Mason Cobb from USC last week. He was doing that very well in film. Weeks is pretty good at that. Like, they're delivering the punch, and so it creates a stalemate situation, and then they're able to shed and get around and do whatever they need to do. Now, with this D-line, there will be times where you could deliver the punch, and it's not going to matter because still there just wasn't enough holdup at the line. But the technique right now is just it's too much inviting them into your chest, and then you can't get off, and it looks like you're stuck on him.
Yeah, and when you create that stalemate that T-Bob is talking about, because you kind of throw your hands in your head at the same time, then 9 times out of 10, and really more 10 out of 10, you're the better athlete. So once you create that space, you're going to be able to make a movement either with your body or your hands and body where the lineman can't recover, and then you got a chance to go make the play, and he's left, kind of just standing there with nobody to block because he's not quick enough to be able to react to your reaction. And that's how you go make a play. And you're seeing, just from LSU perspective, like you're seeing Whit Weeks play really well with his hands and kind of shooting that. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's the only one right now that's kind of giving you that option.
He's doing better in a tough situation.
Yes.
And with Harold Perkins, and I got to credit, we got to credit our guy, Lon, LSUOdyssey.com. He said this back in July, and many people shouted him down. I think you got to move Perkins to the star. Is it insane and inexcusable that for a 3rd year in a row you would try, or I guess a 2nd year in a row, you would spend an entire offseason trying to do one thing with Harold Perkins only to immediately be like, actually, we got to change? Yes, that is a bit insane, but I don't know, man. I just don't know how he can take the strides at inside linebacker that he needs to in order to make plays for this defense. And Major Burns is kind of struggling in that star role.
Yeah, and it gives you an opportunity, T. So if you have him in that star role, he showed last year that he is athletic enough to be able to cover what the star has to cover. Okay, and also you get Weeks and Penn, both Weeks brothers, and Penn in the middle, where I think right now they give you the better option. So it's a better option, I think, and you think, all the way around. And it's a situation where, look, we just saw Alontae Taylor in the NFL have 3 sacks coming off the edge.
NFL sack leader, guys.
He is.
After 1 week.
You can do those things. Like, the star is not back there at 25 yards playing, the deep third. He can be around the football still. You can come off the edge. In fact,
you can come
from depth. You can motion in. You can do all the things that you want him to do.
Right now, he can't make plays.
No.
He's just and so we want to say, how do we get him to be a factor in the game?
I wanted to see him, like Nicholls did a ton of this, like double A gap mugs. Like that's not something right now that you have the luxury because, again, going back to it, you got to have some really good D linemen to be able to do that and get some push and kind of create that space in the A gap where you're able to go right through the A gap and be clean. Like right now, you don't have that ability. So like even the things that we were hoping to see at that position, I don't think you have the ability to get that done right now.
It's interesting too that they tried the Sage Ryan at corner thing, and then
I think
yesterday
they
in the
kind of
press,
had to.
but then yesterday in the press conference, Kelly's out there like, "Nah, Sage, we're gonna just keep Sage at safety."
Yeah, I think before you had Alexander, who I thought was maybe the best defender in the game, you kind of had to because you didn't really know what you had, I think, in the young players, and you were trying to solidify that. And you had an older player in Gilbert from A&M, and you felt good about Allen. But, I mean, right now, yeah, he's a safety. That's what he is. He is a safety, and you got to trust in your young corners. And Alexander now.
Yeah. It's going to come down to Woodland, Alexander, and Stamps. Those are clearly going to be the three guys that you try to rely on the outside. So real personnel issues, I believe, on that defense. Maybe you can help some things out with it with a couple of position changes. But overall, it's an uphill battle for that side of the ball. And I think Blake Baker and company are going to continue to be challenged to try to get the absolute most out of that group. You really don't realize just how good you had it when you had Jarek Bernard-Converse and Greg Brooks. And who else am I missing from that year? Mekhi Garner. Like, those guys were dogs compared to what you have now. Like, it's actually not even close.
Yeah.
And we kind of took him for granted, didn't we?
Gardner's somebody that could have come back for another year. Would have loved to seen him on this team just a year ago, and you can't do anything about it now. But we talked about it at the time. If you just got one of those defensive tackles to come back to school, who all three had the ability, that looks different.
Yeah, but it is what it is now. And so Blake Baker, you got to go try to earn that money. Great job week one. I know a lot of people might disagree. I don't. I think that was a great job week one. Week two, I'm going to give you a pass because everybody's a little checked out, yada, yada. You can say that's an excuse. I'll allow for an excuse. But South Carolina, a very flawed offense. Yeah, personnel, you may not match up great, but, you better game plan some success here because you can do it when you talk about how flawed the South Carolina team is. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.